who wants to do the recap? There's not a lot to recap.
I mean, I can do if no one else prefers to. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Rather than describing the entirety of the combat, we will have the cliff notes, which is we continue to fight in a relatively defensive formation. A number of arrows flying off, a few spells, plenty of Drugan grumbles. Eventually, as we start whittling our way down through them, there is a turn by the cleric, and the last three, I think it's 3 undead, scamper away. One gets smashed down, one runs up to the north, and promptly stops glowing with fairy fire, which is somewhat disconcerting. There may or may not have been figures caught in the darkness, it was hard to see in the combat. Before the other one comes back and is finally finished off. After defeating the undead, we start to explore around somewhat. We locate another tavern that is full of, I believe, mead and also bottles of wine from a town I can't quite remember, but we have previously pieced together. Nurami, that we have previously pieced together, is most likely the elven town to the south. We all take a bit of a rest, have a bit of a drink, collect ourselves, and continue exploring. To the south, we find a little office or room that appears to be utilized by a doctor or physician, where there was a note there where he was detailing the spread of this disease and a little bit of, from his perspective, what was happening about that. After having read this and having a few theories, we stopped there, ready to continue our exploration.
We did indeed. Thank you for the recap. Okay. So, ready to continue your exploration?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Go for it. So, you finished off in it's very small sort of living quarters / office for the doctor. It's basically half desk, half bed, and that's the room.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you found there's a lot of stacked books and notes, and I have provided to you the note that was of significance. The rest are possibly useful, sort of accounts, mostly handwritten, not all in the same handwriting, but accounts of, local plants and ways of preparing local plants and what they can be used to help with.
Okay. Oh. Right, I suppose we should probably leave these here and then come back for them later when we're sure the area is safe.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably make sure we've cleared everything else out.
Oh, absolutely. Start wandering down this corridor then.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is going to be quite heavy on the exploration, so feel free to, go at a decent pace. You are currently entering, the room you're currently entering, Iona, is, it's not a bedroom, unlike some of the other rooms you've seen. It is, it's a decently sized room, I mean, you can see there, and, all along, there's kind of shelves up to about halfway up the walls, and then above that, there's a lot of carvings and engravings. Can someone make me a religion check?
I can if nobody else wants to.
I wouldn't be the one.
I can assist.
Assisting is useful in this case.
Assisting is very useful. Yes, this appears to be a shrine to Bom, the female dwarf god of labor and crafts. And along the shelves, along the walls, there are some little crafty trinkets, small little figures that have been carved, things that have been smithed, just like little pieces of jewelry, nothing of especially high value or of particular note, the odd nicely cut semi-precious stone.
Mm-hmm.
Small little trinkets that have been left here in dedication to Bom.
More offerings and things of value.
Yes. Sort of things that are very nicely made, but wouldn't really be of interest. They're kind of showing off their crafts dwarfship, but not with particularly valuable materials, and you know, not in a way that would have value to anyone else.
It's like they're clearly like little acts of devotion and prayer
Yes.
to a crafts deity. Well, it's nice.
Right.
Next one.
All right, and this room again. This is very very nicely engraved, and there's two rooms to it. The first room appears to be a small, but the floor is well worn, and even the engravings on the wall are sort of worn smooth by touch, and maybe I think you can all recognise, because she was a god of your fortress before, that Oaken. This is devotion to Oaken, and there is a small room attached, and in that small room you find a hard stone bed and a small chest with a few very plain items of clothing. Yeah.
Doesn't look very good.
Yeah, there's nothing in the main room. There's no items of furniture. It's just sort of religious symbols. Not really pictures of anything. It's mostly sort of religious symbols, very fancy writing. Not really depictions of events. The odd sort of set of scales. And yeah, there's no furniture. It's just slightly worn engravings on the walls. That's it.
Okay.
And I've lost the god list because I'm an idiot.
Would you like me to send you it again?
Yes, I'll be
Okie dokie.
Time to
Yep, found it.
Oh, you found it. Good. I think we pinned it.
I'm going to suggest we go this way.
Okay. Why?
Just so that we're not cutting ourselves off.
That's fair.
Alright.
Sounds smart enough.
So now, the room you look into, it appears to be it's a medium-sized room. There are two beds, one on each side, a small table, some chairs, you know, a chest or fit under each bed. It's just there's not much of note here. The door has been smashed in. There's, you know, maybe some chairs overturned, signs of violence, but there's not much of note in this room.
Is it
Sorry, did you
Standard.
say chests under the bed?
Yes.
Do you think these are worth looking in?
Don't see
Or
why not.
should we come back to them later?
They're locked.
No, they don't appear locked.
You take right, I'll take left.
Okay. I guess we open the chests.
Yeah.
Okay. You open the chests, and to be honest, you don't find too much of note in them. It's kind of personal effects, a few items of clothing, you know, maybe a little mirror. There's some of those semi-precious beads kind of in a little box.
Ah, mirror, you say?
Yes, a mirror.
I might grab the mirror.
You can grab the mirror. You also see a note that one of the chests does contain, I don't know if you'll remember, back in the very first session, you found a sort of a little figure of, it looked kind of like it was like a building perched on a very steep slope, very precariously balanced.
Yes.
So you find a very similar figure, but much, much older than the one that you found before in the merchant's stash.
I'm much more interested in the mirror.
It's shiny and reflects the light.
Would you like the mirror?
Yeah!
Okay, here you go.
Yay!
Did you, I forgot to ask before, did you, I assume no one took the time to attune. I believe you found a nice scarf and a dagger. Last session.
I don't know if we can... how quickly can you attune to something?
I can't
I didn't realise you could do that on a short rest.
I think
I-
it's...
Let me double check. I've got the rules here. Hold on. Dungeon Master's Guide. Attuning. One moment.
I'm not sure I understand.
You can't just use... well, most magic items that are not like one-use things require you to attune with them. This takes time. Can't remember if it's a short or... You can do it over a short or a long rest. And you have a limited number of items you can be attuned to.
Was the scarf special?
Well, I don't think anyone examined the scarf in particular.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
I've had Detect Magic up for a while,
sorry, yes.
so I would
the-
have noticed if
Sorry,
it were
yes, the
magical.
scarf is special. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Here I thought it was just pretty.
It is pretty. It's mostly
What's,
pretty. It's a gorgeous, like nice translucent fabric. Very different to all the fabrics you're seeing in here.
What kind of aura is it, or was it radiating?
It's what kind in what sense? Like is
As
this
in,
a
what school of magic?
School of Magic? I know what it does. Let me check what the School of Magic is. Magic's in.
Sorry, awkward
There
questions.
We do this to him when he's jamming. Like, give us this
Okay.
information. We won't do anything with it, but we want it.
You can have it. Don't worry. Probably. Not that. Not that. Not that. Nope. Gosh, I don't know. I guess. Maybe evocation.
Interesting.
That's my guess.
Well, that scarf. I'd be very interested to find out what that scarf does.
Me too.
So I looked it up. It turns out we can attune to items on a short rest.
Perfect.
I am explicitly not attuning to the necromantic dagger.
Why not? But it could be
Because
so
my
useful.
character has intelligence 14 and is not going to attune to something before he knows what it is.
The question then is, would the bird have attuned to the scarf?
Do you attune
Probably
to the shiny scarf?
by accident.
Alrighty. You have acquired a scarf. And the scarf, as you attune to it, you kind of sit with it, you wrap yourself up in it. Oh, it's a very nice fabric, feels very soft against your feathers. And as you attune to it, it starts to glow very gently. And by the time you fully attune to it, it's shedding a gentle, dim glow for 10 feet around you.
Ooh,
Oh,
I'm a pretty bird.
You're a pretty bird. And have you still got a torch on? Because you
light is still up on
On
a
the
bow,
bow?
I believe. So
yeah. Okay. So I won't change that yet. But if we lose light, I'll change yours.
Cool.
So while we're here,
Mhm.
when people are like digging through the chest and everything, pick it up, and they find when we find the statue, just on a whim, can I like grab one of the bits of clothes and hold it up and look if it looks dwarf size or bird sized?
Yeah. So you grab one of the bits of clothing, and you hold it up. And from which chest?
Like
Left.
I guess I'm by the left because the key is by the right, but I kind of want to do both.
Okay, so you can do both. So the one on the left looks as though it belongs to a bird, and the one on the right looks as though it belongs to a dwarf. And what you notice as well, going through the chest, is that the clothing itself is kind of padded, in the places that you would probably expect, armor to sit.
That makes sense. And the figure, the little statuette we found.
Yeah.
That was in bird chest or dwarf chest?
That was in bird chest.
All right. Yeah. Cool. That's what I wanted to know. mean, taking it, she just drops the clothes and carries on. Are we done here?
Yes, I think so.
Did you find any clothes you...
Oh, well, I think they're more likely to fit you. No, I was just curious who lived here.
I'm starting
Especially-
to think if we're exploring, if you guys, if you folks don't mind traveling a little bit more slowly, if we could pause for me to occasionally recast the spell which allows me to detect if things are magical.
Sure.
It'll be slower for sure, but hopefully we won't miss anything that way.
No, do it.
Yeah.
Seems terribly smart.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, this is going to take about 10 minutes. And I would like to ritual cast Detect Magic.
Alrighty.
So,
So let me double check
No.
the detect magic spell.
you know that that creature we put down on the other side of the fortress? You know, in the
Mhm.
tower?
Which one?
The eyeball thing.
Peaky,
Peaky.
your best
Yeah, yeah.
friend.
Yeah, that thing. I remember it said it said its master wasn't a dwarf and didn't have a beard, but that had one of those statues, and there's one of these statue things here. Maybe it was a bird's.
Ah, you think?
Maybe. I mean,
A bird wouldn't leave a friend, but...
it's possible. Maybe you're right.
Okay, you have ritual cast detect magic. And give me 1 sec, so it's 30-foot radius, and that'll be centered on you. I might just, can I attach you like an aura for my own benefit? Yeah, I can. Okay.
Oh, neat. That's cool.
I'm gonna attach you a 30-foot. Is that radius or diameter? Radius. 30-foot aura. Don't know if you can see that, but I can see that.
I can
I
see
can see
no... I can see nothing.
Sweet. Okay, you've got a nice yellow aura from my point
I
of view.
see.
Oh no, wait, I've attached it to the wrong dwarf. Hold on.
Yeah. It's not mine.
I was so pleased with myself as well.
I mean, I
Uh,
can get
there
this
you go.
spell if you want.
Wait, no, that's your torch.
Yeah.
I'll remove that.
The torch is
the
detected.
torch. The torch.
A torch is
detect-
magic.
There we go.
Okay,
The
I can see
torch
that.
is the real bard.
Actually, that's not so bad though, because to be honest, I know what the radius of my spell is, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can see that.
It means if you want to make sure it's covered in an entire room, you can.
That would be quite useful.
Do
Let
that
me
with 10 magic
double
shuffle.
check a thing.
Things.
Assuming that this exploration takes a while, what I'm probably going to do is
I'll just kind of
recast
assume
it.
that you're recasting it, and as long as you're not in combat or anything, I'll
okay.
we'll just kind of assume that happens, because there's a fair bit of exploring now.
Mhm.
And we should get going with it. 1 moment. Yeah, okay, so there's over here, this direction, magic. Ping, 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 ping.
Oh, I can't see through walls. Worth
If the
noticing.
walls are...
A foot of
blocked
stone.
by a foot of stone. Okay, there is no magic over there. Disregard.
Guys, I think we should look for secret doors.
Well, I think we're going to continue on down this corridor anyway.
Absolutely. Okay, in here you find another small room. All of the rooms here, that they seem to be fairly cramped. I'm not sure. Was your fortress particularly luxurious before you came here?
Very.
I don't know if it sounds like, from what we've established about it, I would think your dwarves will have nice, fancy rooms. These are quite
For the dwarves.
bare bones. Yeah, for the dwarves. These rooms are generally quite bare bones, but the inhabitants have kind of done them up a bit. This room has a double bed, table, chairs, you know, a little bit of storage. It has some nice little bunting along one of the walls. And just assume that all of these rooms are just mashed.
Yeah.
Are the doors kicked into the room or kicked out into the corridor?
This one has been kicked in.
Okay.
The one before was kicked out. It's a mix.
Interesting.
Right, I suppose we should probably carry on.
Looks at Singebeard who's standing there in the corridor. I moved.
Which way?
Oh, this is getting more Warren-like than I'd first expected.
Well, it looks like there's lots of doorways straight ahead, or we can head south.
I would suggest heading south, just so that we're.
Really?
No, you're right. Actually, maybe continuing ahead is the best.
We gotta check all the rooms.
That's true.
Or we'll get lost.
Might look back.
Okay. And entering into these rooms, the two rooms that are currently being uncovered, you just find it's more bedrooms, more of what you've seen. Again, you're seeing sort of cramped conditions. Some of the beds in the rooms that you come across have you've had one bed that's been made, the beds are made of different materials as if they were added later. So it was originally like a one dwarf room, and then they've kind of shoved a second bed in there. And up ahead of you, Dravora, it's a terrible low quality furniture blockade. You can quite easily climb over it.
Which direction?
This one.
No, I mean, is it blocking westward movement or eastward movement?
It's blocking from east to west, so things going from east to west.
Yeah. We would be locked in.
You would be blocked by it, but they haven't done it very well. The intention was to block your direction from going that way.
Okay, well.
But it's it's not really worked. In fact, it's just been pushed over a bit.
I sort of peek through and see there's another one to the north.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hi,
you saw
Raoul.
that one earlier.
Well, let's do all the open places before we start opening more things up.
Yeah.
I suspect it'll just be a load of rooms, but you never know what you'll find.
Yeah, and as you proceed down here, it's you're not detecting any magic. It's more of the crowded dwarven rooms that you see. Down here, you notice that there's quite a few dwarves to a room. This room here has, a number of beds, some of them quite small. It's presumably sort of a whole family fit into a very small room here.
I feel like I found a locked door.
Yeah,
Yes,
a couple of them.
Ah, yes.
There's a couple
there
of
are
them.
a couple of locked doors.
Do we need to get the lockpick out?
I think we might.
Do it.
Get
I
the
will- I will-
lockpick.
Do you want to open the one where you're stood, or do you want to start at the end and work back up?
Well, might as well start up here.
Okay.
Right, first thing, I'm going to check if it's locked.
It is locked.
Okay,
Get the
then
lockpick.
I am going to lockpick this.
Pick that lock.
Wow.
Smash!
Smash! The lock is picked.
I love dwarves.
Okay. Let me remove that. So in here you find, perhaps not unexpectedly, the bodies of two dwarves. And they, but you find, and probably a couple, there's a double bed. However, you do find leaning up against the walls, and you ping detect magic on two picks that are casually leaning against the walls. The dwarves are dead, lying on the bed, curled up in each other's arms.
These two picks are magical here.
Are they?
Oh.
Well, we definitely need to take them then.
What magical aura are they radiating?
Lockpicking, obviously. No, let me double check my School of Magic list again. Divination.
Divination.
Divination picks.
I wonder if they're for sounding out where veins of precious metals are, or gems.
Ooh, now they sound wonderful.
Well, worth taking with us either way. These are extremely valuable.
Hmm.
You can have them.
Oh, I can probably strap them to the pack somewhere. I'll attempt to gather them up and rope them to my pack as best I
Tell
can.
you what, I'll take one of them, just so I have something that'll be more useful if we fight any more of those undead.
Mm-hmm.
Passes over, takes the other one, straps it, I guess, to the other side of my pack. So I've got, I've got one on either side now. I guess I'll carry on.
The picks themselves, do they have any, I don't know, any workings on them, any like engravings or anything on them that might indicate who they belong to or what they're for or anything else like that?
So the picks themselves, they have some. They're essentially engraved with. It's a very familiar style to you, and they are engraved in what is to you recognizably dwarven runes. You would recognize it as a sort of an artifact you might have seen, you know, back home. Obviously, this is home now, but.
Hmm. Well, these are very interesting.
Oh, did you spy something on them?
Yes, see these runes here, they're sort of reminiscent of stuff we used to have back at the old fortress.
Huh.
It's possible they're imports, maybe? Or else whoever made them might have been the same craftsdwarf as the ones we had.
I suppose we did get plenty of traders, though.
Again, I really want to know what these do. We really need to find that pearl, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe this door likes us. Pick.
Pick that lock! The lock is picked.
Fucking. This makes me happier than it should.
It's so dwarven.
Oh, when you're doing this, I'm gonna cast. Because I keep forgetting I have it.
What are you casting?
Guides. I need to remember that I have it.
Sorry, what was that? You broke up. What are you casting?
Guidance.
Guidance.
This is the cantrip
Oh.
I keep fucking forget my dwarf has.
I will.
Get
I will.
1d4 on an ability check.
I will. You know what? That was a 21. There you go.
That was
I
you picked
I
that
just
lock.
need to remember that I have spell.
That's a real good.
I don't know
pick
what your
lock.
ability checking is, but
I am doing a mining tools proficiency check, which is fun because that is an optional thing that Katie's optional rule of you can swap
yeah.
proficiencies for dwarven shit. So that optional rule is helping. What is in this small room?
In this small room, it's a very, it's a small room, but it's a very crowded one. There is one bed and one desk, and there's shelves kind of, but not built into the walls like with the shrine you found earlier. These are sort of bookcase type shelves, very closely spaced and with vertical dividers as well, and they're full of little, like it's a lot of the ones that are kind of on the desk and were presumably being recently actively worked on was sort of the beads that you've seen in so many of the dwarves' beards, and they have uncut gems, but they also have lots of little jewelry, trinkets and cut gems on display and things half finished being worked on here. And you do detect a little bit of magic coming from two of the rings.
Two of the rings, did you say?
Yes, two rings that are amongst the sort of half-finished jewelry and so on.
Those two there look like they're magical. What auras do they have?
Oh, sorry,
Sorry.
and
Age-old
yes,
question.
Hold on.
I'm sorry to be that
Stand
guy.
by.
Drink every time Katie has to say hold on because Dax asks an awkward question. fact, no, Dax asks the same awkward question.
Okay. So one of them. Let's see. Hold on. So one of them is. It's a copper ring with a blue crystal set into it, and it's been sort of infused with some kind of energy, and let's see, and yes, it is evocation? I think it's evocation.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly abjuration. Yeah, say evocation. That's a good, like, catch-all, that one. It's like, it just says they manipulate magical energy to produce a desired effect. That's like a good...
Mm-hmm.
It's a good catch-all for ones I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, abjuration. There we go.
Abjuration.
It's my final answer.
It's a very murky aura. It takes you a while to work it
Yeah,
out.
like, it's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Odd aura on this one. Maybe protective, maybe messing around with forces. It's hard to tell.
You said there were two?
Yes, this one as well.
Yes. And the second one is... Gosh, not that, not that. Not that. Again, it could be abjuration. That's my guess. If it
Okay.
doesn't, if when you identify these, you don't think it's right, it's because the aura is old and fuzzy.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, also Akeem might have just legit made a mistake.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, this one, again, it's the same. Is this of same make? Is this also copper, or is this...
So this one it's made of copper, but there's no stone set into it. Instead, it's carved with just little bits of little dwarven runes and patterns on it.
Mhm.
And the runes mostly seem to be sort of dedicating it to it's like a present for a loved one.
Oh,
Interesting.
Being like, may this ring keep you safe and help protect you.
Gee.
well, these are definitely worth hanging on to.
And there is something else that may be of note to at least one of you in there, and that is, in amongst all of the jewelry making and gems, you do see a pearl.
Oh,
How much is it worth?
I don't know,
49 gold.
bazillion gold.
It's 99 point silver, just short.
Enough. It's worth enough.
Yes. My precious.
I assume based on who's digging around, like, Akeem would probably be the one to find it.
Yes.
yes, but I would imagine so. So he'll probably turn triumphant with this kind of wry grin on his face, and just go, Singebeard, I found something I think you might like in here. And I will hold out towards him.
Right. Pass it here and form a pile of the stuff in the corner. This may take me some time.
Well, shall we, if you wait until I next need to cast...
Oh, right, one at a time, yep.
Yeah, we may just need to work through these over time, because we should probably keep walking.
Well, these doors are going well, aren't they? We should find more locked doors.
Hmm.
Well, more down here.
Ah,
There's no gem cutting manual or anything like a guide to gems and what they mean.
So
That would be handy.
there's not really a guide, but you can, if using your Iona's drawing skills, she could take some sketches of. There's kind of there's gems in progress. There's sort of half finished things in pretty much every stage of the process. So you can make some good notes on making jewelry.
I will sketch.
You get some real nice sketches.
I'm gonna do door number 3.
Pick that
Am I
lock.
being guided?
You are being
Sure.
guided to pick that lock.
That's not the right
No,
button
it's
at all.
not picking the lock.
Oops.
That is mine.
That is actually a 14.
You pick that lock. It's these doors aren't particularly tough, and this room. So the first thing you notice is the body on the floor. There's been dwarven bodies, a couple of birds scattered around. This body is notable because it does not belong to a dwarf or a bird. It belongs to an elf. And they do not have the sort of bleeding on the back of the hands that you might have, seen on most of the other bodies that you've come across so far.
Maybe this room warrants a little bit of time spent picking over bits and pieces.
Are there any, if the creature still has hair, are there any like gems braided into its hair or anything like that?
There are not gems braided into its hair.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry. There's not like dwarves with their have their beautiful beards are like have like loads of gems in. This one has just one gem made of sunstone.
Okay.
How did this one die?
This one appears to. There's no obvious wounds. And yeah, it's not really obvious. It's pretty long decayed. Maybe an investigate check if you want to determine cause of death.
Let's see if my investigator instincts pay off. They haven't yet.
You.
And no, seems dead. Probably dead.
Oh, I'm
Definitely
terrible at this.
Distracted by all the shiny things.
You got your
I
nice
know.
scarf.
Yeah, it's like scarf's really pretty as an elf here, but this scarf is pretty.
And I have a mirror to see myself better.
You just like one hand looking over the body, the other hand is just holding the mirror, just like looking at yourself every like 20 seconds.
I can't help it.
Is this the first elf body we found, or do we find another?
I believe this is the first one.
I might check over the rest of the room and just see if there's anything else in here, since this is a bit unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you give me a perception or investigate check?
I will take investigation, since I am much better at that.
Okay. 11. Is that with any guidance or anything from anyone?
I can guide or I can assist.
I think it would be taking the piss to
So
assist.
don't,
It's just
Yeah.
too late to assist. Assist is before we roll, please. Okay.
With the guidance, that's 13.
13. You notice that, given that a lot of the rooms, especially in this area, as you kind of come down south in the fortress, have been pretty plain, it's kind of like there's some nice engravings on the southern wall in this room, like just maybe to remind them of home, just like some nice scenes of trees and outdoorsy scenes, things the junk that elves like.
Right.
That's nice.
Are there like beds and chests and clothes and stuff in here?
There's one bed.
But no like chests or clothes or wardrobes or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a chest with some clothes in.
I'm just gonna because it's the easiest thing to do, like look for a pair of trousers and hold it up and be like, does this look elfish? Or at least like not like that sort of size. I guess I can't do it deliberately, but
Yeah, it looks like it might fit that corpse on the floor.
well, at least it's probably its room. It hasn't been locked in here elsewise.
It's quite a big it's quite a big room for just an elf, considering.
It's got pretty stuff on the wall too. Well, pretty for... I'm sure Ed thought it was pretty.
Hmm.
Doesn't look like the sort of thing an elf would have made.
Maybe it was an important elf.
This sort of gets like a blank, confused look, as if you've just said maybe it's a red-coloured blue.
Well, there was a statue of one, right? What? One of them has to be important.
And as you're all looking at this very deeply carved, very intricate engraving, can I have a active perception roll from everyone, please?
I think I can manage that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll roll it. I won't pass it. Oh, Singy.
Singebeard. Singebeard, something's a bit off about this engraving. It's kind of... Dwarves kind of don't cut this deeply into the walls generally. And, yeah, it looks as though it was sort of like... maybe created at the usual shallow depth and then sort of deepened all across the engraving. It's just a little bit off.
As somebody who's proficient in engraver's tools,
Mhm.
do I know why somebody might have done this? Was it they've just like emphasized the engraving, or is there might there be like some kind of like you press on one of the engravings and then it does the whole secret door thing?
It doesn't look like the kind of given your knowledge of engraver's tools.
I can roll a check if you like.
Yeah, give me like an engraver's tools check. How engraver's tools are? Yeah, this is a niche application of engraver's tools, but you've done some shady things before. No. So, you would probably do this when you wanted to kind of hide something. And with that, you've done maybe things like this before. It's the kind of, maybe a sulky dwarven teenager would do something like this. Creating a little secret compartment in an engraving. So kind of deepening it, and then like sort of careful crafts dwarfship. You can make a, it can't really be locked, and it's the whole thing. It's kind of, if a new engraving appears in the dwarven child's room, the parents can be like, "What are you hiding?" It's a deep engraving. So yeah, it's like and given what you've seen before, there's kind of an image of a sun, and there's the large flat disc where the sun is. Kind of looking round the sides of it, you can feel a sort of a groove in the stone, and you're able to pull this off. It's like a lid put on sideways into the engraving. And inside you see a small box and a stone.
Ooh. Right. Wow. This is interesting. I hesitate to want to open this thing, and I'm gonna set it down on the ground. What do we think?
I think that was a good find. I was going to offer to have to knock half the wall down. We can't just leave it, can we?
Well, no, but I'm kind of concerned as to what might be in here. If it's I don't know, some kind of pestilence that the elves have brought into the fortress.
I don't think it would be in a box.
No. Well, whatever it isn't magical, or, well, unless the box is lead-lined.
Is it trapped at all?
I can't tell. Do you want to take a look?
I can do.
By the way, magic aura, there's magic inside the wooden box, and the stone is magic.
Oh.
Sorry, that's key. Forgot that. Good thing we got the aura on.
When you say the stone is magic,
Yeah.
Which stone specifically?
So there's inside the sun. You kind of pull it off like a lid. Inside there's a stone, and
Oh, and
box.
the box. Right, I see.
yeah, sorry, not a stone box.
Ah.
A stone and a box.
All right, okay. Donkeys are aliens. Oh, both of these are magical.
Sure, that's not an important detail.
You could just kick it. Could just kick it.
You know what? I'll take a look, and I will look and I will check to see if the box is trapped in any way.
Okay. What are you using?
I'm guessing that's an investigation check.
Yeah.
But...
I am assisting.
Okay. You helped a bit.
Very slightly. As we poke a small wooden box.
Paranoid dwarves. Also, what are the auras on these?
Okay. Aura list. So, the aura on. So the aura on 1 is. I'm just going through my notes. Schools of Magic. Yeah, 1 is definitely evocation, and the other one.
Which one is evocation?
So the box contains evocation, and the stone is divination.
All right, I will narrate this to everyone as we go.
You're going to be awfully busy, aren't you, Cinchbeard?
This is an afternoon's work right here.
Yep.
Well, the stone is probably a bit better, but I'm still concerned about what's in this box. Sorry, did you say it was not trapped?
Not trapped.
Not trapped. Okay,
No.
I'll open it up.
Okay. The box contains 10 small black beads. Well, not beads, little spheres.
Little spheres. Do I have any idea what these things are?
Arcana check.
Sure. Can I get guidance for this one?
Sure.
All right, so 13.
Yeah, they're beads of force.
Beads of force. Oh, sweet. Okay.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. They're what's the best way of describing this? If you take one of these and you throw it at something hard, it sort of explodes.
Oh, that is handy.
And there are 10 of them, it seems.
Good find.
Well, if this elf was hiding it, that suggests the elf shouldn't have had it.
Well, these
Yeah.
are potent weapons. These will kill people, especially in an enclosed space.
Glares at the corpse.
Maybe this one was worried about, I don't know, something.
The other thing these things do. Sorry, Katie, is it okay if I use like meta knowledge to know what these things are?
I've told you what they are, and just because I kind of assume that you OC know what they are.
Well, the other thing that they do is they sort of trap things inside them. So you throw it at something or somebody, perhaps could be a criminal. Maybe you could throw it at a criminal. It would probably hurt them a lot, and then it traps them inside a sort of a bubble of force that they can't get out of.
So there could be a person in one of them.
Oh no! They're only when they're thrown, and it just creates kind of a transparent bubble that surrounds them for about a minute or so.
That would have been handy back in City Watch times.
So why on earth did this git have them?
Well, that's a good question. And also considering the whatever this stone is as well.
I think maybe we find out what that stone does first.
Hmm. Does anyone particularly want to carry this box with the beads? They are quite potent, magically, but anyone can use them.
Well, I don't think I'd be a very good shot. I could get
I'm
him
good at
pretty far, but
exploding things.
What's that about exploding things?
I'm good at...
I lost you there.
Yeah, same.
I'm good at exploding.
Ah, good exploding.
Hmm. Do you want to
Am I-
carry these then, or does somebody else want to?
I'd have given them to our sorcerer, but he's not here.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, tell you what. Let's give them to Iona for now, and then if we decide they need to be portioned out later, I guess Sinsbay, you should probably take the stone.
Can't do. It's a stone.
Huh.
continue glaring at the elf like you were up to something.
You...
Well, after finding all of this stuff and seeing his hand not all...
Oh, he said it didn't fit the elves.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe,
I just don't like if there's this thing that wasn't affecting the elves, plus apparently the elves are keeping secret weapons hitting places.
Doesn't
how
look
fancy
good.
does the clothes look on it?
That's a good question.
Sorry, say again?
Hands do the clothes look on the elf?
Sorry, I missed that.
How fancy, like, are the clothes on the elf?
Ah, the elves' clothes. They are maybe slightly, you know, they're not, the clothes they're wearing, the body is wearing, they're not particularly fancy. They're not, you know, the very low quality clothes that the elves in your fortress wear. But most of the items of clothing are not especially fancy. But however, you do find in the chest, in amongst the clothes, there's a few items of clothing that are like quite nice, quite fancy, made of a different fabric, kind of reminiscent of a heavier version of the fabric of Iona's scarf.
Interesting.
Work out maybe some folk.
Some what?
Some special folk. Anything that marked him out as more an, you know, a resident.
It's not like we can ask many questions, is it?
Hmm.
Not without a risk on.
Not without a what?
Arrest.
Well, remember where this one is then. If you can do something later, could be useful.
Hmm.
It's a powerful kit, but I can do it. Or I work out how to, I think.
Well, I think now we're just sort of standing in a room glaring at a corpse. Let's get back to work.
Hmm. Fine.
The corpse is not glaring back.
I suppose it's all the way back up at this point.
Just gonna make like a little small mark on the wall somehow, just to like I remember that it's this room that has the elf body.
And once you have all, I might mess around with the lighting in between sessions, and once you've explored it, I might see if I can reveal them without breaking
Okay.
the fog of war. That would be
Some
ideal.
sort of like exactly.
Need like a
with it.
dim reveal or something? I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I do keep breaking the fog of order. so
Cinchbeard, before you wander off,
Oh,
we haven't explored down here yet.
oh, no, we haven't. Apologies, I'm losing track. Sleeping
It
during
is
it.
like a little maze-like.
The rooms down here are... This is very Warren-like now. The rooms down here are fairly small, fairly low quality. They have not fared especially well in the whole zombie thing that clearly happened here. Quite crowded. You kind of have to assume a lot of the rooms that you've seen, it's kind of beds, storage, not much else, maybe a table and chair every now and then. It appears that the dwarves didn't really... They didn't focus their time, perhaps, in their rooms.
Is this, are these a lot like the rooms we found north of the first tavern? When there was the zombies that burst out of them?
North of the first tavern. Yes, it's kind of similar to them, yeah. In that kind of very small, very Warren-like, just like a functional place to sleep. And then most of their time they would spend in the rest of the fortress.
I am going to... I will test if the door is locked.
It's locked.
Glance at Cinchbeard.
Shift can out.
Take that lock. Hold on.
It's 13.
Lock gets picked.
Seems our lucky number today.
And inside, you see a room. It's again very small and functional, like a lot of the other rooms in the fortress. But it's got some nice engravings on the wall, and it's got some nice, and they seem to be engravings. They're like depictions of stories, mostly. There is a small chest in the room. There is a bed, and carefully resting on a stand in the corner, there is a very nice lyre.
Is it magical?
It's magic.
Magic lyre. Okay.
Okay.
Out of the way, everyone. I'm just gonna pick it up and I'm just gonna start playing it.
Okay. Let me see. You're gonna need to make a wisdom saving throw.
Cool. Alright. I do not do well.
It sounds great. But you do take 3 psychic damage.
Oh my god, okay.
Too
It sounds
excited.
great though. It's a beautiful instrument. It's got this gorgeous like engravery. It's got this kind of like it's wooden, but then it's got this like sort of metal, not quite a lattice, but like sort of it's kind of wrapped in ornamental metal like things. It's nice.
It was just the player that took the damage, not everyone that could hear it, right?
No, just a keen.
Okay, just checking. You never know.
That's odd. I got a bit of a headache after that.
Oh, but you played it so
Plays
well.
amazingly though.
Sounds beautiful, echoing through
Wow.
these empty hallways.
God, I shouldn't just play it again, should I? No.
Do what you want. Sounds so good.
I'm
It's
gonna-
probably worth it.
It does sound great. I will hold on to it, and then the next time we sit down and rest.
You want that bump? You.
I am. So you also mentioned that there were like carvings and runes around in this room.
Yes.
Are they different, notable, interesting, or just generically pretty?
So they are mostly stories. So let me see. You notice, so there's a few different stories. There's one that's like a very classic morality tale, the kind of thing that Akeem would probably recognize as like a sort of classic dwarven folklore story, kind of like the equivalent of the boy that cried wolf. You notice that engraved along one. You notice with a lot of these, there's kind of, you don't know the systems, you don't know how it works, but there's some kind of attempt has been made to sort of write notation for the music that would be played with it. And there's a few other smaller stories of that kind, but the big one, the one that kind of wraps all around the walls and is sort of very prominent, is it's a story of a dwarf, and the dwarf kind of goes through a series of challenges, basically, in front of another dwarf that's sitting on a throne. And so the dwarf kind of arrives and has to and bows, and then the dwarf kind of does some kind of ritual to do with the gods. The dwarf then makes like fights some kind of great big monster, and then the dwarf kind of finally forges. You can't really see what it is, you can just see him working in the forge, and then the last image is the dwarf being crowned by the figure on the throne, which then vanishes and he climbs up and sits on the throne.
Is this this isn't a tale we've come across before?
No.
I don't get this.
So, some sort of coronation?
Yeah.
Just a person sitting on a throne. It's the only thing I can think of.
It's hard to know what to make of this, to be honest. It's not a tale I've come across before.
Could
Well,
be
whoever's-
a coronation ritual, could be...
It's definitely something I want to come back and study.
Right, well,
Just looks like a kid's.
Iona doesn't like kid stories.
Well, the stories told to children often have some significance.
I suppose.
tell kids the good things. That's how they learn.
It could have at least been a feast or something.
Have you eaten recently? You're getting a bit cranky.
I could go for some millet bread.
There's a slightly awkward silence in response to that. As no one has any millet bread.
Aw.
The zombies
And
have
you
millet
end
bread. Go hang out with them.
Zombies are millet bread. Spoiler. Is that just well? So is it dead end there or somewhere else?
A few more rooms.
Looks like a
All right. Well, back to the corridor.
On we go.
Okay. There is a dead end at the end of the corridor. Coming along, you find... so, along here on the left, there's a series of, bathrooms, kind of like the ones you saw earlier. They look as though they used to have running water at some point. And the middle room you come across here appears to be home to formerly, still practicing engraver. Like the whole room is like engravings, but they're really rubbish. Like, you'd think with that many engravings, they kind of have improved, during the course of the engraving, but it's like, it's so many, and they're all the same quality, and it's all terrible.
That's a shame. It's like, looks like this one didn't improve much. I'm gonna pick over the body. Are there any, like, engraver's tools, like, on the body?
The body, yeah, they've got some, like, engraver's tools just, like, stashed in the room.
Sweet. I
So
might take those then,
you
because I
have
don't actually have
acquired
any.
engraver's tools.
Now you can teach me.
I can.
Does I'm just going to check. Is there any sort of functioning running water from these?
There does not appear to be, no.
Worth poking.
Don't mess with them.
Why not? It's worth seeing if it works.
You don't want it to work.
Why would you want running water?
It just seems like a bad idea right now.
Well, okay, if you say so.
Hmm.
Well, that's this section then.
Mm-hmm.
Looks it.
I wonder why that person scored so awfully on their wall.
I'm sure whoever it was thought it was amazing.
Maybe it's where the elf was practicing. I imagine it takes him longer.
It's my only assumption for how elves and like short-lived creatures can be at the same level is elves just take a really long time to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I spend like 10% of their time learning, and the rest I'm shoved up their own ass.
Yeah, like that's tends to be how I take it.
Alright, so we go back to the main room then.
Mm-hmm.
I say we do everything open before we start clearing.
No.
Yeah, then up here. Oh, did we? We do these rooms.
No, you did not.
All right.
Where did you
Cinch
go?
Yes.
There's another section over here before we go north.
Right.
Okay. So the room that Dravora is now coming up to, you see inside, it's like, again, this door was smashed inwards. But you see that, well, firstly, ping, ping, ping magic. Secondly, it appears to be like, it's a fairly normal, very neat, very tidy. There is a small table where some arrows are in the process of being fletched. You notice there's a bow leaning up against the wall, which is ping, 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 ping. And there is a small, it's mostly plain walls, but there is carved into one of the walls, kind of around dwarven head height, a little bit below, is a little shrine to, well, was this one of the ones of your fortress? Would you know this? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not immediately obvious. Like, it's just a little religious shrine to, you know, one of the gods.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That bow there does appear to be magical.
that's nice.
Do you want to give it a go? Is it a short bow or a long bow?
Longbow.
I can look at it. Not my bow, though.
It's not your bow, and that's
That's
the
true.
problem. It feels unfamiliar in your hands, and it's sort of weightier than your bow. It's made of wood, but it's inlaid with metal, and it's got kind of extra little like gears and gizmos on it, like how compound bows versus like like multiple strings. It's all very technical and dwarven.
Someone worked on it.
I mean, it's a fantastic piece of kit. Well,
Right, I'll give it that.
I mean, even if you don't want it, it's probably extremely valuable, or one of us could use it.
It just needs some brightening up with some feathers and paint, I think. Then it can be a happy little bow.
Take it, we'll add it to the pile later.
Do you want to take a test shot with it?
Pick up
What?
one of the arrows and hand them over.
What should I shoot?
Maybe out into the corridor?
Yeah, I'll shoot it.
Oh, whoever isn't making her other blow go, make the arrow grow so we can see it.
Oh, good point. Actually, I may as well just... that scarf is glowing, so I may as well just make the arrow glow.
Okay.
And I'll
I'm
reach
not-
over and I'll...
Making a glowing arrow for you all.
Okay,
Wow.
Wow, okay.
that's the
Well,
level
just
we're
for
at.
that, I'm gonna make another one go.
Oh.
Gonna make a new pebble glow, throw it every 5 minutes, make a new pebble glow and chuck it around.
So I am gonna cast... If it's alright, I cannot if you don't want me to.
Okay, what's the radius?
So it's the same radius that's on her,
Mhm.
and it also ends the light that's affecting her.
Of course.
So now she's just glowing with the scarf's glow.
Mhm.
There you go. You've got a glowing arrow. I will give it to Iona. There you go. Iona, you have control of this glowing arrow.
Cool. Well, should I make a shot?
Yeah.
Try
Wow.
that new
Target.
bow.
See how it works for you. Even if it's it might be a bit unfamiliar, but it might fly true. These things are often enchanted to help arrows hit home a bit harder.
Do I roll to shoot?
No, you can just shoot down the corridor and see what happens. Pew.
Okay.
The arrow goes faster than this.
And there's-
Thunk. So as you draw the bow, even though it's heavy, it's kind of easier to draw than you would think, especially with your sort of muscles trained with a lifetime of bow. Anyway, you're strong anyway, but it does require strength. But you find it maybe easier than you would have expected for the weight of the bow and the fact there's so much metal involved in it. It draws easily and smoothly, and as you let go, you aim down the sights, and as you let go, it flies like just along precisely where you'd lined it up, with considerable force, more than you're used to. It's a nice bow. You don't know if it's so much. You don't know. You can't really tell from using it, like to what extent it's enchantment and to what extent it's just pure dwarven engineering.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's ugly, but it might be, so I'll keep it along.
Obviously, to all the dwarves, it's like a beautiful, beautiful bow.
There's like probably there's definite like grumbling I think from. I know Dravora is, and I assume Singebin is when you call it ugly. There's like more to just a background of beautiful.
I'm gonna grab the arrow.
Just skip down the corridor.
You can keep that arrow. That can be your
Hooray.
torch. Yeah, again, more rooms along here, fairly crowded, same conditions that you've been seeing up till now. Little homely touches in most of them, often sort of evidence of profession. Dwarves are mostly smashed in, but some of them are smashed outwards.
Mm-hmm.
There's no correlation between smashed in, smashed outwards versus the race of the corpses inside.
Not between the ones belonging to burbs and the ones belonging to dwarves.
And there's not any of our corpses.
There are some bodies, definitely some bodies of dwarves and birds, but both with the sort of back of their hand, to the extent that the burbs have hands, like wounds that you've seen on other bodies. Some of
But
them
no
is just kind of
elves.
sores. No elves, no.
Okay. Oh well, onwards I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Keep trudging on.
Nothing interesting over there.
Just more rooms.
Ah,
more-
no, it's just rooms and then a dead end. Nothing more.
Yep.
Hmm.
More rooms, more poor dead people. Have we been up here? We have, haven't we?
You haven't been, but it's more rooms, and these two along here. Again, it's more bedrooms, very dense and maybe slightly less dense and warren-y. There's slightly fewer sort of dwarves per room density as you move north through the fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So we're finally ready to try going up here.
Yes. Okay. You head up and you notice running along the walls, kind of coming out of the stone, leading from other place, sort of accumulation of pipes running down this corridor. And
Tap 'em.
it's a pipe. And as you enter into these larger areas, you notice, so the small room off to the right is a sort of little workshop. And this central area, it kind of has, it's got like a load of pipes running together, and they feed upwards. Well, some of them feed upwards, some of them feed downwards, and you can hear the sound of rushing water. There are some valves and things on the pipes that are closed. Water seems to kind of, and there is a ladder upwards. Water kind of seems to come in from somewhere above. There's like a large like drum, which has valves, and then it kind of, water comes off from that large drum through some like machinery. You don't know how it works. Seems kind of magic. And then it runs off into pipes that kind of split up and go elsewhere in the fortress. And then there are pipes that come back in and kind of go downwards.
Mm.
You said there was a... Alright, so there's a ladder up and there are some cogs we can fiddle with.
Yes.
Gonna fiddle with some cogs.
Don't
Why
You
not?
fiddle with cogs.
don't do it.
Oh, why ever not?
I don't like that idea.
That's not answering why. That's just repeating.
Water isn't a good idea right now. Unless you want to be like... Unless you want to start testing it on people. Seeing what happens. I don't trust the water right now.
Is that point?
I suppose.
If there's disease running.
Oh, disease is... Oh, me and disease don't... We'll get on fine.
Well, what about me?
Step back!
What?
Is there like any indication of why there would be all this crap here? Is there like an obvious like spout or something?
What do you mean?
Like you said, there's like water and pipes and tanks and everything. And
Water comes
cog.
from above. There's big storage tanks. It goes to below.
But there's no like open things that water could flow out of in the room.
No. The water's all kind of sealed off from the room.
Ah, right. Well, I guess...
It's turned off for a reason.
Well, it's just all.
I'm gonna have a fiddle with some cogs.
Yeah. So are you just like kind of doing things at random, or are you making a serious effort to figure out how to get it all working?
I think I'm just kind of fiddling things at random. I'll be honest.
Okay. Let's roll me like a d20, and we'll see if you accidentally by chance get it working. This is your luck stat, which is modifier 0.
Sure.
Yeah, no, you fiddle with some things, you like twist some cogs. You know, some of them like open valves, some of them do other things. I don't know. They turn quite nicely. This is very well constructed. Beautiful dwarven engineering in this fortress. Beautiful.
I can't believe it all. Well, works. It's not stuck or stiff or anything. Not doing anything, mind.
Gonna
But
kill some-
suppose we could check up the ladder.
I mean, after
You
you.
go.
Sure. Up the ladder.
Up the ladder. So up the ladder, it just leads you into like a little. It's a more natural cave. This, and it basically shows where water. It's an underground river. Water sort of coming in from somewhere, and it kind of a portion of the water, or at least there is an option to have the water come into a pipe that goes down, and that pipe has a mesh sort of grate. No, wait, sorry. It's got a cover on it at the moment, blocking the water from going down into the fortress.
Is the water going anywhere else?
Yes. So it's kind of like tapping from a river, but not like using the whole river.
Ah, I see. So there is currently no water flowing into the fortress here. It is blocked off
Yes.
by a thing. Is it a
Just a
thing
cover.
that looks like it can be removed, or is it a thing tied into part of the machinery?
No, it looks like a removable cover.
I'm gonna call back down. Well, it looks like this is where they take the water source from, but someone's like, well, they put him manually. They've just shoved a cover in the way.
Uh-huh.
Could probably
Well-
remove it.
Don't mess with anything.
What is it with you and not trying to work out how things work?
When did you want to... Why do you have a death wish?
I don't have a death wish, but we're here exploring and working out how things work. It's part of what we're doing.
Oh.
Leave it. We'll come back to it when we know it's...
What about the rest of you?
I hate to be a voice of caution, so I should probably side with Iona on this one. We can fiddle. You can fiddle with this to your heart's content later.
Fine,
just-
It's fine. Most of the rooms will start opening it.
Well, would you object if I took a sample of the water?
No, that sounds like a good
Sure.
plan.
Just
It's
keep
probably
it
worth
far
finding out
away
whether
from
it's
everyone.
diseased or poisoned.
I will take.
Oh, I can check that out if you want.
Ah, might be worth a try.
That sounds smart.
So we ain't getting into another Barney this evening. Not a problem. Shift aside.
Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Unless, like, there's a room up the ladder, then I'll come down the ladder.
There's not a lot of room up there.
Cool, I'll come down the ladder and let Sinji pop up.
Oh, and can't detect poison and disease.
Alrighty. So what are you casting it on? Like a little, like just the water?
For the last 10 minutes, for the duration, you can sense the presence and location of poisonous creatures and diseases within 30 feet.
Okay.
Identify the kind of poison creature disease.
So, from where you are, it's hard to detect. It's very like subtle is probably the right word. But there is like a trace of magic poison in the water. And actually, so that 30 feet, does it penetrate rock?
No, it is stopped 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wooden dirt.
Okay. So where the water kind of rushes in to the little clearing you're in, not really clearing, the little cave you're in, yeah, the water is poisoned.
Oh.
Subtle
Smart
magical
canary.
poison.
Yeah, wouldn't touch stuff.
I'm going to use the liquid.
I told you.
Do you know what's wrong with it?
Some kind of magical poison or disease in here.
Magic?
Looks like it might be.
Well, it's definitely worth
You
taking a
wanted to
sample.
fiddle.
Of course I did. If I hadn't have gone up there, I wouldn't have found out.
How could you?
Any idea what the source of this might be?
Oh, is it the
Some
water
sort of tampering.
meadow? Is where this comes in.
I'm getting a sinking feeling that if we want to find out what the source is, we're going to have to get in there ourselves, which
Does
is
it-
no fun
Me.
for anyone.
Maybe.
Does it
Maybe
look...
connect to a river somewhere and dump something in it? I don't know.
To be honest with you, it could be any number of things. Although magical poison is an odd one.
Hmm.
That's what the magical detecting thing told me.
I suppose is
Sounds like a solo mission for boss.
Well, it's poison, not disease, is the problem. Poison will get me just like anyone.
Oh, I suppose.
well, maybe maybe we better not fiddle with any more of the pipes, but we should definitely come back and then see if there's any way of finding the origin of whatever that is. Even if somebody has to swim in there.
If it is magical, it's persisted a while.
Well, that's the thing with magic. It tends to last. Even if it's a side effect
just
from some
visible.
experiment.
Maybe it's they've some magical thing that got chucked and dumped in the river, and rather than poisoning the water itself, and that's still spewing out whatever it is.
Could be.
Could be anything.
Which we definitely need to find where it is. In case it was anywhere near us.
So it's
Just-
probably. Did you say it's being fed by a river?
Yeah, it's tapped off a stream, or like a underground river up there.
It might be something a bit further up. If we can find the source and trace it further into the fortress, unless it's
That's what I was
completely
thinking.
underground.
Katie,
Yeah.
seeing as I have my head up there,
Yeah.
does this look like just a tiny little access to the river, or does it look like a place where you could get up and then like proceed to walk along like the riverbank?
Yeah. It's like a small access to the river.
Like it's not like you could then get up and then explore like upstream to find some sort of source.
Not unless you swam.
And that'd be swimming underwater in poisoned water.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's not do that yet. Well, maybe there's...
It has to come out somewhere, right?
Unless it just keeps
River?
going underground somewhere.
It probably feeds into the nearby river.
Yeah, that's what's
It's
worried
somewhere.
me.
But we need to find upstream, not down. I still say take a sample of it.
You can.
You want to volunteer to fill your water skin with poisoned water?
I'm sure we have a spare one somewhere.
Say so.
We've got it. I cannot believe in the entire fortress, with all of our people, we do not have some spare thing to stick some water in.
Well, I'm not carrying it with me.
Let me
Go
see.
empty out one of the bottles.
What do I have in here?
Yeah, you can find essentially you can find empty bottles. Sort of. It's a dwarven fortress.
Yeah, just come to a tavern. You can go get.
Empty out the elf line.
Into Iona's mouth.
I wouldn't
Actually,
have any more of that.
How much of that did you drink?
Not a lot, I hope.
Oh no, it's like a genuine question, because if that's an empty bottle, that's an empty bottle.
Well,
But if
I'm
you're
saying
drunk,
we
then
can
you are
empty
drunk.
it.
Yeah, there's a condition to drinking an entire bottle.
Just dump it out.
Strikes me as a good idea, is all. But we can do it later.
Alright. I guess we keep moving on.
So keep this
Mhm.
locked down and we keep going. Fine.
You remember the Foggy River?
The one, oh, the one outside.
The one that was, by the human settlement, right? That was the Foggy River, right?
Oh, coffin.
You don't think, like, there would be some sort of connection?
It's possible. Of course, they also, unless I'm misremembering things, they did say they came down from the mountains too.
And
Though
they
there's
didn't
only-
look so good.
There's only one river here. If that stream leads out into the main river and they were getting their water from there, we should probably tell people to stop to find a new source of water if that river leads to the same one.
Well, there's not really anything we can do about it.
We should inspect it carefully.
Given just a sort of like geography thing that you'd have probably all seen. So the human settlement you found was quite far to the east, and there was a river that came from there and merged with a river that came from near your fortress.
Right,
So
yes,
they merged
because...
and then they went downstream towards where the elves were.
Yeah, there was a... Right, you're right, yes, of course there was a fork.
Yeah.
The fork where you found the ruins.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
Yes, I recall now.
Right. So, do we want to press up north before we do anything with the barricades?
Well, there's these little rooms to this thing. Oh yes, because that creature stumbled up here and disappeared, didn't they?
Yeah, we should be on our guard. Actually, Iona, here's one for that bow of yours, or at least the arrow. Could you fire it up into the north, into the darkness, so we can see if it hits anything?
I can do that. Pew.
I hope she says pew.
Pew!
Oh.
Pew!
That's definitely
Alrighty,
something.
There is something. And the arrow thunks right through the spectral visage of, well, 3 dwarves, 1 bird, all heavily armoured in what was presumably in life shining, beautiful plate armour. They're all kind of matching, like they're a cute little squad. In front of them in the hallway, sort of along here, around this like intersection, there's a lot of dead zombies. And a lot of dead zombies have been hacked apart. And you know, they just, big pile of them all the way up to where the ghosts are. And the ghosts stand sort of vigilant to attention, weapons drawn. They don't seem to see you, despite you being illuminated.
Do they react to the
by
arrow at all?
They don't react to the arrow's light, and the arrow just kind of whizzes past them, because you weren't really aiming at them because you couldn't see them. So the arrow kind of like whizzes past them down the corridor.
Is there a body of the undead up there?
There's a lot of bodies of undead up here.
Yeah, I think we'd have trouble picking out the specific one.
Well, I thought we had like 4 ghosts as opposed to a zombie.
Oh yeah, you have 4 ghosts.
We're there. Yeah,
there are tons of corpses up there.
Tons of...
I missed that bit.
Are dead. I mean, yeah, I guess it's ambiguous for me to say the zombies are dead. The zombies are not undead, just dead.
Sorry, I missed
they
that there were
undead, and then they died again.
They're re-dead.
I missed that there were a lot of corpses there. That was my bad.
No worries.
Spectral defenders. That's powerful magic right there.
That means something very important beyond that corridor.
We should be
What are we gonna
extremely
do about
careful when
that?
approaching them. Shall we carefully check out these rooms?
Yes,
Yeah.
we should be safe, shouldn't we?
You never know what's lurking.
Alright. So in these rooms, you find the first 2 of these rooms you enter, Dravora, are kind of, well, like they've been planned and mined out as dwarves, you know, as the rest of the rooms in this place have been. And then these little extensions in the back are kind of more organically hewn by whatever dwarves lived here. There is a double bed, and these rooms in the back are home to it's a toy making workshop. They've desks strewn with like partially assembled toys. They've got shelves with like neat little wooden things and like nice little tiny little miniature picks. for all of the little dwarves that want to go
Is there
mining.
anything pink?
Yes.
I would like to pick up the pink thing and hand it to Iona.
You pick up.
What is it?
It's a small pink figure of a. It's a small pink figure of a pink bird, wielding
Pheasant.
a sword.
It's so cute.
Thought you might like it.
I like it. Prepare for hug.
I think she gets hugged. There's like a
Yeah.
moment, and then it's like returned. Maybe a little bit too hard, because you're probably quite fragile.
I'm very happy. Although seeing all the toys around makes me think of Clementine, and then I get just a little sad.
No.
I'll give you like a moment if you want to take it, but you seem to just leave anyway.
Oh, okay. I'm playing with my new little figure.
Just walking around playing with it while we're exploring.
Uh-huh.
It's cute. It's got like
She's gone.
movable joints on its arms and
Ooh.
legs. You can pose it.
So fancy. I completely forgot about the ghost.
Yeah, they're not moving.
They are not yet moving.
All right, then I'll try this
Just
area.
standing there vigilantly. Alright, in here, it's a lot more luxurious than the rooms you've come across before. Here it's just one dwarf to a bedroom, and they've got this like nice central living area. There's like a carpet. There's like table, possibly what was once a sofa, some like chairs. There is even a bookcase.
Books.
Are there intact books in the bookcase?
There are intact books in the bookcase.
What topics are they on?
So they seem to be fairly abstract topics mostly. You don't really recognize any of the authors, but it's a mixture of, you know, the names are kind of a mixture of races from what you'd assume. There seem to be quite a few that are bound in a similar way. And it's mostly sort of, it's like philosophical works, it's maybe sort of mathematics, and it's not like practical engineering mathematics, like abstract maths.
Oh wow,
And
okay.
you've got like, so books on philosophy, some books on religion, but like also books on sort of speculation about like the nature of gods and things like that.
Speculative metaphysics.
Yes.
It's my favourite kind. I might actually grab one of those books,
Yeah.
just because
Do you
that'll
want
make for really
to
good reading.
grab one of the ones that is made in like so there's quite a few of them that have this same binding on them, and it's this like sky blue fabric.
Yeah, I'll grab one of those.
One of those. Okay.
Who's the author?
The author, you don't recognize the name, but it's a human name. I don't
I think
have-
my eyes glaze over just in the sheer existence of these books. Like they
None of them have
exude an aura.
drawings.
They exude an aura of boring.
There goes a order of whoosh with a ghostly hand going over before his head. I leave. Well, I assume Akeem is like, oh, this is very fascinating, interesting, it's complicated. This is not menial.
Still no movement from our friends. Where does the corpse at, Katie Gates?
Which corpse?
When
pile.
the
The pile.
corpses begin.
Pile kind of starts around like here.
Okay. I guess we wait till Akeem is like picked out.
Done with the book. Yeah, he's stuffed it in his pack and is gonna.
He's not reading it now.
Right. I get the
So-
feeling we may want to try and talk to these things.
You think they'll listen?
If they recognize us
Um.
as alive and not undead, they might have been commanded to simply guard that doorway from zombies.
Depends
Or
if they're a commanded summon type thing, or if they're spirits died.
They're very not movie for not deliberate.
Hmm,
They might be guarding the last order from life.
maybe
Oh.
maybe it might be worth me approaching and trying to address them. And if they stir or make towards me, I'll just run back towards you.
Go for it.
Might as well. Good luck.
Do your thing.
Okay. So Katie, I guess what I'm doing here, mechanically speaking,
Mhm.
is I am on each of my turns. I'm going to take a readied action to, if they start moving towards me, run away,
Okay.
Um,
Got that?
and I'm just gonna slowly walk down the corridor.
Okay.
Uh,
As you get to
until
about... One more? As you get to about there,
Mhm.
the dwarves and the squad kind of start to... their attention snaps to you and they seem to see you. And one dwarf, she steps forward and there's kind of like a look of relief on her face. And she says, "Finally, you've been sent to relieve us."
Hail there, friends. You've been assigned to guard this doorway.
Yes, I told my father I would keep them safe. And he sent you, right? He sent you back. And is that all of them? Did you clear the rest of them?
We think we've cleared out most of them, but sorry, one minute, friend. I'm going to head back to the others. And basically, I'm gonna cast. Do I have message? I should have message. I do have message. I'm gonna cast message 3 times, one to each of them, and basically the message says, they don't know they're dead. They've been assigned to guard the doorway. They think we're here to relieve them.
Okay.
Well, that's
I don't know
How do
whether
you-
or not to tell them whether they're dead.
How do you know they're not? Why wouldn't they know?
Sometimes those who've passed on and don't realize it, especially if they have a duty or a job to do.
What's
Why
a bit
not
of
ask
dying in
them?
front of a duty?
Maybe we should just go back and talk to them.
Think it's probably best.
Hmm. Okay.
I want to say hi to the bird.
I'll sort of walk up and looking as formal as I can.
Um,
Okay.
Hello again, friends.
Hail.
I come bearing some bad news, I'm afraid.
see.
We have not been sent here to relieve you. We are... what's the best way of putting it? We are
Adventurers?
explorers. We've found what appeared to be the ruins of this fortress that we are standing in. We've simply cut our way through the rubble and discovered you here. I don't think there's been a living soul in this fortress for many years now.
The dwarves and the bird, they look a bit shocked. The dwarf at the front, she falls to her knees, her incorporeal knees,
Oh no.
and looks down at what she's kneeling on, and perhaps for the first time notices her dead body there. She looks up at you. She kind of whispers. So
I'm
we
gonna walk
failed
up
then.
and attempt to comfort her.
We failed, didn't we?
Well, whatever's behind this door is certainly safe. It looked like the rubble had been brought down, and perhaps whatever undead were trapped in this area. If nothing has gotten past you, then you've certainly not failed.
we've stood guard here for so long.
Well,
Uh,
I guess in a way we have come to relieve you. It looks like your work here is done.
Stands up and nods, kind of turns and kind of like wraps her arm around the shoulders of her squad mates, and she nods and says, "Thank you." I suppose.
We have with us somebody who knows rites and rituals. Singebeard,
Mm.
is there anything you can do to help these people?
What about questions?
It's,
Well.
we have failed. That is.
What was your
That is
duty,
enough.
Spectre?
I said I'd keep all these dwarves safe. Gesturing to the doors behind her.
Have you stopped everyone who tried to coming in?
Yes, of course. The doors are still sealed.
And it seems to me you did exactly like you were supposed to do.
I suppose so. Thank you. And
What happened?
the ghosts at this point start to fade.
I think
No!
Trevora, like, getting slightly louder and talking over the bird, reaches in, gets out her holy symbol of Iguk,
Mhm.
which is the the god of duty and order.
Yeah.
Like holds that out and holds out a hand and says, "You performed your duty, passed your death through your death, and for longer than anyone should. Rest now, heroes."
And it's kind of hard to see tears in the eyes of ghosts, but they thank you quietly as they fade away.
They're gone?
Yep. They're at
You
peace.
people are terrible.
What? Why?
They would have given some insight into what happened.
They'd
They
been
have
here long
lived
enough. They earned their
Long
peace.
past their life. They
Yeah,
needed to go.
and they could have.
It's a matter of respect, Canary. I'll hear no argument on this one. They did their duty. Now
They
they're
did.
going to the gods.
They did their duty.
Okay, but now more people are gonna get hurt because we don't know what happened.
One is about to if she doesn't shut her mouth.
Mhm.
I think it may be a good idea to see if we can find out the names of these dwarves, because they ought to be commemorated. I wonder
Yes.
if they have any personal effect. Does anyone object to me going through their personal effects to see if we can find out any more about who they were?
We're going to object to that. The time would have been a few hours ago.
Hmm. Okay. Casey, can I go through their pockets?
Yes,
of
essentially you can.
the corpses
you
they
can-
stood over.
Yes. So the four bodies, one bird and three dwarves. You find they all have very fine plate armor and weapons. They are all wielding melee weapons.
Oh, plate.
Yeah, it's very nice plate, and some very fine, all classically dwarven, made out of a kind of like a very a really nice metal. You haven't seen this metal before, actually. You're not quite sure how it's made. It's a warm. It's not gold, but it's got this like warm golden hue to it. But it's strong, very strong. And yeah, you can find sort of personal effects. It looks as though they're all kind of carrying a sentimental item or two into the, perhaps they knew. They probably knew this was a bit of a last stand going in. And we'll say that you can find sort of engraved on weapons and among their personal effects, you can find the names. The dwarf who spoke to you, the one who she seemed to be the leader, her name was, I'll copy and paste it into chat, Salcoris, and woven into... We're doing Lady Dwarves have beards in this universe, I assume. Woven into her beard.
We can do.
That's optional.
Dwarf-
Some of them do.
Some of them do. Maybe not. Woven into her hair, regardless. We'll figure that out later. She has gemstones of sapphire, one of diamond and one of emerald. The other bodies are woven through with, in the case of the bird, just kind of, or decorating their feathers. It's like slightly larger beads to accommodate the feathers, slightly fewer of them. Obsidian on the rest of the dwarves. Although one of the dwarves has obsidian and then a single emerald.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so yeah, the name of the dwarf that with the single diamond and all the sapphires is Salcoris. The dwarf with one emerald and otherwise obsidian is Eleanor. The burb is named Dorla. And the last dwarf, the pure obsidian bearded dwarf, is called Hansen.
Well, that's going to be quite a tale to write for these heroes. But at least we have their names.
Think of all the questions we could have asked.
Just shoot you a look. Singebeard, are you still detecting poison and disease and the like?
No, but if you give me 10 minutes, I can again.
I'd really rather do more than burn these people. And if they don't have and if they definitely don't have the disease, then we can.
And what's more, this armor is something else. I have no idea what this metal is.
Oh, it's incredibly interesting and important, and frankly, just beautiful.
Let me have a closer look at it.
Part of me.
You wouldn't take it though, would you?
Part of me thinks they deserve to be buried in it.
Would you call the armor a forged object more than a tree old?
Sorry, a forged object more than what?
Very old.
This armor is a forged object. It has been forged.
Because in which case, historical knowledge lets me determine the rough monetary value of
A lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. More than all the wealth you've found so far in this fortress.
One person. Yeah. I thought. This priceless beyond. Whoever she was. Special.
Royalty, perhaps.
Maybe captain of the guard.
She said she promised her father that she would protect this place.
Maybe royalty then.
No, that was my initial thought. But one could be both. One could be noble and a great warrior.
Well, at least I can answer one question. What were they?
Hold on now. One thing at a time. You got a few more side rooms first.
Yeah, fine.
Whatever's in there is important. Let's make sure we're not opening our mouths to anything. I want to give full attention it deserves.
Definitely.
Of course.
Alright, which side do we do first?
I think as Iona has already started exploring a site, the decision has... I think Trevora will just start following after the bird.
Okay. Stand by. So, this first room you enter into is a shrine, but a more luxurious shrine, perhaps, than the ones you've seen so far. And you can see, yeah, so it's kind of apparent from context. Again, this is a god that was at least known to your fortress, I assume. It is a yak cow god, with imagery of fire, volcanoes, and mountains. It's very obvious. The big volcanoes in the room. Very obvious. Very obvious.
Cool.
They're devout people at least.
Okay. So up here where Singebeard is, very luxurious rooms.
Door, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, a door.
Ah.
Pick that lock.
Wait till she gets hurt like me.
I'm like poking my head in this one. If you call for me, I'll come.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's a door.
So that is the one you're poking your head into. Is again, it's a shrine, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of generic imagery, but it's images of dwarves and fortresses.
Interesting.
Oh.
Is this something that Singebeard recognizes?
Religion check.
I was just thinking because that's his god.
Yes, sorry, I forgot that was his god. Yes,
If that's
Kickost, the
kids,
god
then I
of
would probably...
fortresses, the dwarf god of
yes.
fortresses, the
Yeah,
patron
that's my god.
of this patron of this campaign.
Roll to know
Yeah.
your god, cleric.
Yeah,
And
the one god I don't have failed my religion roll on.
this one's arranged as more of a small sort of meeting room. This has like some like sturdy benches. They're all kind of facing each other. It's like a sort of communal not like a lecture thing. It's like a communal conversation thing.
Good. Good.
You look awfully happy there.
It's just nice to find the familiar.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Right, you said there was a door.
I
This way.
So back into the beautifully ornate, plushly furnished chambers that are here.
Lay Lucy down up against the wall. Get. I'm still not using the magical pick yet until it's been identified. And turn to Singebeard.
Oh, right, yes. Her eye upon you.
Pick that lock. Yeah. It
Because I
opens
can.
into
30. See?
Her eye
lock is-
upon you.
The lock
You're
is
getting better at
picked.
this.
Okay. And what you see is it's a small room, bedroom, but it's like very luxurious. And it's got like there's a small wardrobe with a lot of very nice dresses for a dwarven lady. All dwarven made, but like just they're quite nice. Standing, something that stands out is on the sort of side table next to the bed, in a vase, a metal vase, is a single rose, and it is a deep, rich red, and it appears to it's not withered, it's still there.
Pretty.
Is it magical?
Is it magical? A little bit.
Okay.
Oh, well, like, because I've actually remembered that switch as well. If he is keeping up detect magic, keep up detect poison disease in the same 10-minute
It's not poisoned.
that we're no, just for future knowledge, like, because I just remember that we have those 10-minute respites that are being abstracted,
Mhm.
and we'll keep that one up. Prepared.
That means you'd have had it for the bodies too, wouldn't you?
Yes. I just remember I can do that.
Fair enough.
I just like, oh, that is a ritual.
That should be dead.
Yes, it was clearly enchanted. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. But I don't know, a magical gift given to a partner that's been enchanted. You know, my love will never die like this rose. That kind of thing. It's the thing stories are made of.
A flower?
Well, the rose.
What's wrong with a good necklace or ring?
Well, some people have they've picked up customs from humans and elves.
Oh, I suppose.
If nothing else, it's actually even more impressive that that something like this, something so delicate, has lasted so long.
Wouldn't that mean that the love is delicate?
It's
Perhaps this is a poor metaphor.
Yes, I suppose. Do we need to take it with us? Can't imagine we do. It'd break, right?
I mean, it's
Leave it there.
curious, but I can't carry anything else. I'm completely laden down at this point.
Not so well. Not something so fragile.
We'll come back for it if we really want it.
cock once we're sure we're about to get into a scrap.
Works for me. Works for me.
hmm
But
Bloody.
some of
good
those
dress,
clothes would look cute on you, right?
Oh yes, they would. I know. I
Yeah.
noticed a few of them.
Extremely fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Cast a few, like a long eye on a number. Oh,
You
look.
can come back for them later, I suppose.
Oh, yes, we'll see. Let us finish our work.
So as you progress along here, you see it's the rooms that are kind of, yeah, they're like the ones you've seen before, but they're in that they're like a single, but these are one dwarf per room, and they're very possibly two. Some of them are like double beds, but they're very luxurious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm starting to think maybe that crossroads wasn't the only way into the different districts.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps not.
Shall I open the door?
Well, there's a few more open rooms down here.
Yeah.
Let's do them first.
Let's take a quick peek.
Couple of open rooms.
Yeah, so there's
one or two
luxurious
more, see.
rooms along here. The room that you're currently in, Akeem, ping ping ping, there's some magic somewhere in that chest over there.
Aha!
In the bedroom.
There's something interesting in this chest. I'm going to take a quick look at the chest and see if there's any traps on it.
Check.
Do you want me to roll anything?
Yep. Investigate.
Roll it.
Yeah, it seems
there are no
fine.
traps on the
Seems
chest.
safe.
All right. Okay. I will crack it open or attempt to.
Okay, open it up. It's locked.
Okay.
Pick the lock.
Well, there's definitely something valuable in this chest. Can we open it without necessarily just smashing it?
Do you have a key?
Why?
I don't know.
I'll
the thing is,
search the room for the key.
Perception?
I mean, doors can be easily remade, but chests and things, well, they're actually valuable to us right now.
14. You don't see, there's no keys in here that you can see, and no bodies, but out in the hallway, you do see, well, there's a few finely dressed dwarf bodies out here, but you see a kind of like a nicely dressed dwarf with kind of looks like turquoise woven in their beard. And the chest itself is kind of smaller and lighter than most of the ones you've come across so far.
Hmm.
So if you want to search that body in the corridor, you can.
Yeah. I want to do that.
Yeah, the body of the dwarf with the turquoise woven into their beard is indeed. They have a key on them.
Haha. I'll swipe that
You got a key.
and head back over. Here, try this.
Ah. Worth a shot. And I will attempt to open the chest with the key.
The chest opens to a lot of nice dwarven clothes in very good condition. I don't know how your dwarves will feel about wearing the clothes of other dead dwarves, but if they were okay with it, these would be a great choice. And nestled among them is a nicely cut stone set into a pendant on a necklace. It's an amulet. Is magic.
Pretty.
Ping, ping, ping.
Mm-hmm. What kind of aura on this one?
This one has... Not that, because it's not like a control thing. Maybe... divination?
Hmm. Well, I mean, these are nice clothes, which we could come back for later. But I'll hang on to this to add it to the pile for Singebeard to identify later.
Okay.
Yep. I guess we'll keep moving.
Just as an OC note,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've recorded the one magic thing I'm carrying. These magic things have been written down and recorded somewhere. right?
Well, I've kept a list.
Yeah,
That
I'm
would-
recording the ones I'm carrying, which
I
are
assume, yeah.
the copper
not.
rings, one of the magical picks, the magical lyre, and this necklace.
I'm not carrying anything yet.
Just got your pearl.
Iona has a scarf and a figurine, which I assume she's made note of.
And the mirror.
Yeah, so... Yeah, the mirror... So, has anyone
Well, the
got...
mirror is not magical.
the
Yeah,
non-magic
that's toy.
mirror?
The figure has magic?
The figure does not have magic.
Okay, I was
Oh, and I
confused
am
for
got
a
the
sec.
bow.
It has the magic of childlike wonder.
That is magic.
Yeah.
The best kind of magic.
Right.
Cool.
Are there anything else in these rooms that we're poking our heads
So
around?
the rooms that you're poking your heads around, no, they're just they're luxurious rooms.
Sure.
Luxurious dwarven rooms.
Are these? You said these are all look like they were all women.
No, I didn't think so.
Oh, sorry. I thought you just said luxurious woman rooms.
Oh no, luxurious
Yeah.
dwarven rooms.
That
Yeah.
makes much more sense. Did I mishear?
I thought I didn't hear woman. I heard dwarven.
Alright,
And
Going
there
back.
aren't any birdish rooms?
Not in this area, no.
okay. Well, the usual thing. Do I feel a tap on my shoulder as usual?
Yeah.
That's 17.
Lock picked. Inside this room, it's it was presumably a luxurious room like these others, but it is in a considerable, some of them were in moderate disarray from all the fighting that happened in them, but this one is in an unusual level of disarray, and I wouldn't step further in if I were you, because you will see upon opening the door that there is a body tied to the bed of a young dwarf.
Tied to the bed.
Yes. And as you
Oh,
smash
no.
down the door, it turns its undead face to look at you. We're not gonna initiative because it's tied up. It's not. It can't really. It goes ah. Grr.
Arg.
I'm a zombie child. Grr.
Does it look female?
Yes.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Well, the doctor mentioned a girl, didn't he? Or she?
I mean-
or they?
Yes,
Hmm.
but
Well,
we've gone.
whoever
for
this
a
child
while.
is, they need to be, well,
Yes, if we
Yep.
can make sure.
You're right. I'm just.
Step
I guess it's time to just walk up and execute them.
You do this. It
It's grim
stops
work, but
moving.
it's done. Wait a minute. Silence or two. That was the first one we found tied up like that. We've seen people locked in rooms, but we've not found anyone tied to a bed before.
I imagine with
Perhaps-
anyone larger than a child, they manage to tear themselves free eventually.
Hmm.
But we didn't see any chains or rope or bindings, did we? I wasn't really paying attention.
No, not that I remember.
Just wonder what makes her different.
Hmm.
Because we've seen children crawling around. We thought
Perhaps someone just didn't want to let go.
Different parents made different responses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I suppose. There's nothing else of note in the room, no like scrawlings or anything, is there?
No.
Okay, well. I consider that. I just leave it, and if other people want to do other things in there.
Does that mean it's time?
I think it's time. Well, there's one more door,
There
One
is.
more.
and then it'll be time.
Oh god, don't do that.
Pick that lock.
Yep, 18.
18 picks the lock. Okay.
I like Team Frontline is somehow, because dwarven bullshit, also the rogue. Like the two people with like no decks and heavy armor are the rogues. It's great.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress.
Mhm.
Justifies everything. This room is lined. Pretty much every bit of the wall it's lined with beautiful paintings.
Ooh.
There is an
Ooh.
easel and a bed and very little besides. And yeah, they depict kind of some of the landscapes you've seen. One shows the outside of presumably the fortress in its glory. There are also scenes you haven't seen, scenes of sort of glittering caverns with rivers running through them, and you couldn't tell at first when you look at the painting if it's a cavern full of gems or if it's the night sky.
Get out
Iona.
of the way.
Yes, I was just saying. Go. Do any of these. Do your thing. It's gorgeous in here. Shame it's not on the walls, but, close enough.
And yeah, looking in the chest, which I assume you do. You haven't said I just kind of have assumed you've been looking for stuff in the rooms you've come across.
Mm-hmm.
This chest is unlocked and contains kind of nice clothing. And it becomes obvious looking at the kind of like clothing and shoes very quickly, just from a glance, that this room did belong to a burb.
Huh. Cool. I'm just kind of studying the colors and the shapes and
It's really pretty.
mm,
And it's kind of, now that you've seen the clothes, it's kind of obvious from some of the angles that some of the paintings is kind of done from, that this belongs to a burb.
hmm.
You haven't seen paintings elsewhere in the fortress. is the other thing. It's all engravings. Engravings are the like dwarven thing. Paintings are not so much.
Are there any like painting supplies around?
There is there's a little like sort of next to the easel. There's a little table with some very dried up painting supplies on it, and you also notice a little figure that appears to be a tribute to. Let's see if I don't know this one. If I immediately know that you know this one. Oh, you will have the list anyway. It'll be obvious. It's a tribute to Rethel, the dwarven god of painting, poetry, inspiration, art, and beauty. A little,
This
a little
is
wooden
not the
token.
greatest painting in the fortress. It is just a tribute.
A
No shame.
kindred spirit.
Well,
I think it's
I
time
like
to
this.
tell us when you're done. Take your time.
yes, no need to rush.
Okay, and I think we're going to end it here for today. I said this session
Yep.
would kind of finish a little bit early. Ready to
Yeah.
crack open the door next time.
Also, I just picture sort of ending of the three dwarfs standing there, like looking at the door, and then Iona like trots up, having finished done the painting. We sort of just nod at her and just go to like lift up our feet to walk towards the door as the camera fades to black.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Thank you for playing, everyone, this week.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you
was
for
great.
And yeah, sorry we wrapped up a little bit earlier than usual. I just
It's okay.
little and often. I kind of prefer anyway.
I think we said we
Sounds a bit
finished
late.
between 9 and 9:30, so
Yeah.
Yeah. We discovered a lot.
We did.
Yeah. It was like because you attracted all the zombies at the start of the session before last session. Yeah, they all went over there, and then you fought them all, and then this was all clear to explore. But I hope it was enjoyable, regardless.
Yeah,
It was.
that
Oh
was
yes,
really cool.
yes, absolutely.
exploring is my favorite part.
I moderately apologise for all of these locked doors being solved in
I
the manner in
expected-
which they are
Dwarvish
solved.
fashion.
I expected nothing less from this dwarven game. You've picked the locks.
Yeah.
It's true.
Never gets old.
It just
I know.
It doesn't.
It's
It doesn't.
wonderful.
All right.
What else were we gonna do?
I need a T-shirt with that on.
Yes. Or, like, it's just like a dwarven miner saying there with the